Chapter 8 The Aftermath and New Omens. In the days following the defeat of the dark-robed old man, the village of Silverbrook basked in the glow of victory. The celebration that had followed their triumph was a joyous affair, filled with music, dancing, and feasting. The villagers, once again, had come together to face a threat and emerged victorious, their unity and spirit stronger than ever. Aidan, the young hero of the hour, found himself at the center of the village's admiration. Children would run up to him in the streets, their eyes wide with awe as they asked him to recount the details of the battle. Aidan, always humble, would share his stories with enthusiasm, hoping to inspire the younger generation to be brave and protect their home. Isabella and Lycan watched their son with pride. They had seen him grow from a curious boy into a courageous young man, one who was willing to put himself in danger to safeguard the village and the forest. "He's become a true leader," Isabella said to Lycan one evening as they sat on the porch of their home, watching Aidan play with the other children in the village square. Lycan nodded. "Yes, he has. And it's all because of the love and support of this village, and his deep connection to the forest." However, even in the midst of the celebration, a sense of unease lingered in the air. The council, led by Gideon, knew that the appearance of the dark-robed old man was not a random occurrence. There was a larger force at play, and they needed to be prepared for whatever might come next. Gideon called for a council meeting, and all the members, along with Aidan, Isabella, and Lycan, gathered in the council chamber. "We've been lucky this time," Gideon said, his voice grave. "But we can't assume that this was the end of the threat. We need to strengthen our defenses and find out more about who might be behind these dark magic attacks." Elise, the village mage, spoke up. "I've been studying the remains of the dark crystal that Aidan destroyed. There are some strange markings on it, symbols that I've never seen before. I think they might be some kind of signature or a clue to the identity of the mastermind behind all this." Tomas, the tracker, added, "I've also been scouting the surrounding areas. I found some unusual tracks near the place where we first discovered the dark, pulsating rock. They were different from any animal or human tracks I've ever seen. It's as if there's a new, unknown creature involved in all this." Aidan listened intently. "I can try to talk to the spirit of the forest again. Maybe it knows something about these symbols or the tracks. And I'll also ask the ancient tree if it can sense anything strange in the forest." The council agreed that Aidan's connection to the forest's magic could be their best lead. Aidan set off for the ancient tree the next morning. As he approached the tree, he could feel its familiar, warm energy. He placed his hands on the rough bark and closed his eyes. "Ancient tree," he said softly, "I need your help. There are still many mysteries surrounding the dark magic that has invaded our forest. Have you sensed anything else unusual?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, Aidan felt a strange, tingling sensation. Images began to form in his mind, images of a large, shadowy figure lurking in the depths of the forest. The figure was surrounded by a swirling mass of dark energy, and it seemed to be watching the village from afar. Aiden opened his eyes, his heart pounding. He knew that this was a new threat, a more powerful one perhaps. He quickly made his way to the clearing where he often met the spirit of the forest. "Spirit of the forest," he called out. "I need to talk to you." The air around him shimmered, and the spirit of the forest appeared. It was a beautiful, ethereal being, its form made of pure light and surrounded by a halo of leaves and flowers. "I know why you're here, Aiden," the spirit said. "The dark forces are not done with your village. The one you defeated was just a pawn. There is a greater evil, an ancient being that has been awakened. It seeks to destroy the balance of the forest and claim its power for itself." Aiden's eyes widened. "What can we do to stop it? We can't let it harm our village." The spirit of the forest looked at him with its kind, glowing eyes. "You must find the 4 elemental stones. These stones were hidden long ago by the first mages of the forest. They hold the power of the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. When combined, they can create a force strong enough to face this ancient evil." Aiden nodded. "I'll do it. But how do I find these stones?" The spirit of the forest pointed towards the north. "The first stone, the earth stone, lies in a cave near the mountain peak. It is guarded by a powerful earth elemental. You must prove your worth and respect for the earth to obtain it." Aiden thanked the spirit of the forest and rushed back to the village to tell the council what he had learned. The council was both worried and determined. They knew that this new quest would be even more dangerous than the previous ones, but they also knew that they had no choice. "I'll go with Aiden," Lucien said. "He's brave, but this is a difficult task, and he shouldn't go alone." Isabella nodded. "I'll stay here and help prepare the village for any attacks while you're gone. And I'll make sure to gather as many healing potions as possible." Elise added, "I'll study the ancient texts to see if I can find any more information about these elemental stones and the ancient evil. Maybe there are some spells that can help you on your journey." Tomas volunteered to lead them to the base of the mountain. "I know the way to the mountain, and I can help you avoid any dangerous areas along the way." The next day, Aiden, Lucien, and Tomas set off on their journey. The path to the mountain was long and arduous. They had to cross a wide, fast, flowing river, climb steep hills, and navigate through thick, thorny bushes. As they got closer to the mountain, the air grew colder, and the terrain became more rugged. Tomas, with his sharp eyes, led them to a small, hidden path that led up the mountain. After hours of climbing, they finally reached the cave where the earth stone was said to be hidden. The entrance to the cave was blocked by a large boulder. Aiden stepped forward and placed his hand on the boulder. He could feel the power of the earth beneath his hand. "Earth elemental," he said. "I come in peace. I seek the earth stone to protect the forest and my village from a great evil. Please, let me pass." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the boulder began to shake. Slowly, it rolled to the side, revealing the dark entrance to the cave. The three of them entered the cave cautiously. Inside, it was dark and damp. The sound of dripping water echoed through the cave, and strange stalactites hung from the ceiling. As they walked deeper into the cave, they could feel a powerful presence. Suddenly, a large, earth-like creature emerged from the shadows. It was made of solid rock, with glowing red eyes and a massive, imposing form. "I am the guardian of the Earth Stone," the creature rumbled. "What makes you think you are worthy to claim it?" Aiden stepped forward. "I have a deep respect for the earth. I have spent my life learning from the forest, protecting its plants and animals. I want to use the power of the Earth Stone to save the forest from a great evil that seeks to destroy it." The Earth Elemental studied Aiden for a moment. Then, it let out a low growl. "Very well. But you must prove your worth. I will give you a task." The Earth Elemental pointed to a large, cracked pillar in the corner of the cave. "That pillar holds the balance of this cave. If it falls, the cave will collapse. You must repair it using only the power of the earth." Aiden nodded. He closed his eyes and focused. He reached out with his connection to the earth, feeling the energy of the soil, the rocks, and the minerals beneath his feet. Slowly, the cracked parts of the pillar began to vibrate. Small pieces of rock started to move, filling in the cracks. Aiden continued to focus, using all his strength to repair the pillar. After what seemed like an eternity, the pillar was repaired. The Earth Elemental let out a rumbling sound that could have been a laugh. "You have passed the test, young one. The Earth Stone is yours." The Earth Elemental moved aside, and Aiden saw a small, glowing stone on a pedestal. It was a deep, brown color, and it seemed to pulse with the power of the earth. Aiden picked up the Earth Stone. As he did, he could feel a new, found strength coursing through him. He knew that this was just the first step in their quest to save the forest and the village. The three of them made their way out of the cave, their hearts filled with hope. They had obtained the Earth Stone, and now, they had to find the other three elemental stones before the ancient evil could launch its attack. Back in the village, Isabella and Elise were hard at work. Isabella had gathered a large supply of healing potions, and Elise had been poring over the ancient texts. Elise had found some interesting information. "I've discovered that the air stone is hidden in a high-altitude temple, surrounded by powerful winds. The temple is said to be protected by air spirits, and only those with a pure heart and a deep connection to the air can enter." Isabella looked at Elise. "We need to tell Aiden and the others as soon as they get back. This is important information." As Aiden, Lucien, and Tomas made their way back to the village, they couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. They knew that time was running out, and the ancient evil was likely growing stronger with each passing day. When they arrived back at the village, they were greeted with news of Elisa's discovery. Aiden, determined as ever, said, "We can't waste any time. We need to set off for the high-altitude temple as soon as possible." The council agreed. They made preparations for the next part of the journey. Elise gave Aiden some special herbs that could help him breathe easier in the thin, high-altitude air. Isabella packed more supplies and healing potions. The next morning, Aiden, Lucien, and a small group of the bravest villagers set off for the high-altitude temple. The journey was filled with challenges. The higher they climbed, the thinner the air became, and the stronger the winds blew. As they neared the temple, they could see it perched on a cliff edge, surrounded by a swirling mass of wind. Aiden knew that this would be a difficult test, but he was ready to face it. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, into the swirling winds, with the hope of obtaining the air stone and getting one step closer to saving their home. As they approached the temple, the winds buffeted them, trying to push them back. Aiden closed his eyes and focused on his connection to the air. He could feel the gentle breezes of the forest, the refreshing gusts that blew through the meadows. He called upon this connection, using it to create a shield of calm around himself and the others. Slowly, they made their way through the winds and reached the entrance of the temple. The temple was made of a strange, white stone that seemed to glow in the sunlight. As they entered, they were greeted by a group of air spirits. These spirits were like small, swirling clouds, with bright, glowing eyes. One of the air spirits floated forward. "Who are you, and what do you seek in this temple?" it asked in a soft, whistling voice. Aiden stepped forward. "I am Aiden, and I come from the village of Silverbrook. We seek the air stone to protect our forest and village from an ancient evil. I have a deep respect for the air and all its elements." The air spirits studied them for a moment. Then, the lead spirit said, "Very well. But you must pass our test. We will create a series of wind-based challenges. If you can overcome them, the air stone is yours." The air spirits began to create powerful gusts of wind, swirling around the group. Aiden and the others had to use all their strength and agility to stay on their feet. Aiden used his connection to the air to try and control the winds, while Lucien and the other villagers held on to each other for support. As the challenges continued, Aiden noticed a pattern in the winds. He realized that if he could predict the direction of the gusts, they could use the wind's power to their advantage. He shouted instructions to the others, and together, they managed to navigate through the wind-based obstacles. Finally, after what seemed like an endless battle against the winds, they passed the test. The air spirits, impressed with their determination and skill, led them to a small alcove in the temple. There, on a pedestal, was the air stone. It was a pale blue color, and it seemed to float in mid-air, surrounded by a gentle breeze. Aiden reached out and took the air stone. As he did, he felt a new, found lightness and a stronger connection to the air. The group, now in possession of the air stone, made their way out of the temple. They knew that they were making progress, but they also knew that there were 2 more elemental stones to find. And with each passing day, the threat of the ancient evil loomed larger. Back in the village, the news of their success was met with a mix of relief and concern. The council knew that they were running out of time. They needed to find the fire and water stones quickly and prepare for the final confrontation with the ancient evil. Aiden, Lucien, and the others didn't rest for long. They immediately started to plan their next move. Elise had been researching the locations of the fire and water stones. She had discovered that the fire stone was hidden in a volcano-like cave, deep in the southern part of the forest. The cave was filled with lava and dangerous fire-based creatures. The water stone, on the other hand, was said to be at the bottom of a deep, enchanted lake. The lake was guarded by powerful water spirits, and the water was filled with magical currents that could pull anyone under. Aiden, without hesitation, said, "We should split up. Lucien, you can lead a group to the volcano-like cave to find the fire stone. I'll take another group to the enchanted lake to find the water stone. We need to move fast." The council agreed, and preparations were made. Isabella, as the healer, made sure that both groups had enough healing potions. Elise gave them some magical items that could help them in their respective quests. Aiden, along with a group of villagers, set off for the enchanted lake. As they walked through the forest, Aiden couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. He knew that the challenges ahead would be great, but he was determined to save his village and the forest. And with the earth and air stones in their possession, he had a glimmer of hope that they could defeat the ancient evil and restore peace to their land. Chapter 9: The Search for the Fire and Water Stones. Aiden and his group made their way through the forest towards the enchanted lake, their footsteps echoing softly on the forest floor. The air was thick with anticipation, and the weight of their mission hung heavy over them. Aiden carried the earth and air stones with him, their combined power a reassuring presence. As they neared the lake, the sounds of the forest seemed to fade away, replaced by the gentle lapping of water against the shore. The enchanted lake was a sight to behold. Its waters were a deep, sapphire blue, and a soft, iridescent glow emanated from the surface. Wisps of mist curled above the water, giving the place an otherworldly appearance. Aiden knew that beneath the beautiful exterior lay great danger. He signaled for his group to halt and surveyed the area. "We need to be extremely cautious. The water spirits that guard the lake are powerful, and the currents are said to be magical and treacherous." Just then, a large, watery figure emerged from the lake. It was a water spirit, its form constantly shifting and changing. Its eyes were like deep pools, and it regarded the group with an otherworldly gaze. "You should not have come here, humans," the water spirit said in a voice that was both melodious and menacing. "This place is not for you." Aiden stepped forward, his head held high. "We mean no harm, water spirit. We seek the water stone to protect our village and the forest from an ancient evil. The spirit of the forest has guided us here." The water spirit seemed to consider his words for a moment. "The forest is in danger, that is true. But why should I trust you? Many have come before, claiming to be protectors, only to use the stone for their own dark purposes." Aiden reached into his pocket and showed the water spirit the earth and air stones. "We have already obtained these. We are on a quest to gather all 4 elemental stones to face the evil that threatens our land. I give you my word that we will use the water stone for good." The water spirit studied the stones, its expression unreadable. "Very well. But you must prove your worth. I will give you a task. There is a powerful current in the lake that is causing imbalance. You must swim to the source of the current and restore the balance. Only then will I give you the water stone." Aiden nodded. He knew that this would be a difficult task, but he was determined. He took off his cloak and handed his weapons to one of the villagers. "I'll go. Keep an eye on things here." Before anyone could object, Aiden dived into the lake. The water was cold and refreshing, but he could feel the powerful currents tugging at him almost immediately. He closed his eyes and focused on his connection to the elements. He called upon the power of the air stone to give him buoyancy and the earth stone to ground him against the pull of the current. As he swam deeper, he could see a large, swirling mass of water up ahead. This was the source of the current. Aiden could feel the magical energy of the water, but it was in a state of chaos. He reached the swirling mass and placed his hands on it. He began to channel his energy, trying to soothe the chaotic magic. The water pushed against him, trying to throw him off, but Aiden held on. He remembered the teachings of the forest, the balance of the elements, and used that knowledge to calm the current. Slowly, the swirling mass began to lose its intensity. The water started to flow more smoothly, and Aiden knew that he was making progress. With a final burst of energy, he managed to restore the balance of the current. The water spirit, watching from the shore, was impressed. "You have passed the test, young one. Return to the surface, and I will give you the water stone." Aiden swam back to the surface, his body tired but his spirit triumphant. The water spirit reached into the lake and retrieved a small, glowing blue stone. It handed the stone to Aiden. "This is the water stone. Use it wisely, and may it serve you well in your fight against the ancient evil." Aiden took the water stone, feeling its cool power in his hand. "Thank you, water spirit. I promise to use it for the good of the forest and the village." Back on shore, the group celebrated their success. They knew that they were one step closer to facing the ancient evil. But they also knew that Lycan and his group, who had gone in search of the fire stone, were facing their own set of challenges. Lycan and his group had reached the volcano-like cave in the southern part of the forest. The cave was surrounded by a strange, orange-red glow, and the air was thick with the smell of sulfur. The heat was intense, and the ground beneath their feet was hot and uneven. As they entered the cave, they could see rivers of lava flowing through the narrow passages. Fire-based creatures, small imp-like beings with glowing red eyes and sharp claws, scurried around the cave. Lucien signaled for his group to be quiet and cautious. They drew their weapons and moved forward slowly. One of the imps noticed their presence and let out a screech. In an instant, a horde of imps charged towards them. The battle was fierce. The imps were fast and agile, and their claws could deliver painful scratches. Lucien and his group fought bravely, using their swords and shields to fend off the attacks. Lucien, seeing that they were being overwhelmed, called out, "We need to find a way to drive them back. Use your knowledge of the elements." One of the villagers, a young man named Marcus, had a natural affinity for fire magic. He stepped forward and began to chant a spell. He called upon the power of the fire within the cave, but instead of using it to attack the imps, he used it to create a wall of fire that separated them from the group. The imps screeched in frustration as they were blocked from reaching their prey. Lucien and his group took this opportunity to move deeper into the cave. As they walked, they came across a large, fiery chamber. In the center of the chamber, on a pedestal, was the fire stone. But their joy was short-lived. A large, fire-breathing dragon emerged from the shadows. Its scales were a bright red, and its eyes glowed with a fierce, orange light. It let out a deafening roar, and a stream of fire shot from its mouth. Lucien and his group quickly took cover. They knew that they were no match for the dragon in a direct fight. Marcus, thinking quickly, said, "We need to find a way to calm the dragon. Maybe we can use the power of the elements to soothe it." Lucien nodded. "But how? This dragon seems too enraged to listen." Just then, another villager, a woman named Ilara, had an idea. "I've heard that dragons have a deep connection to the earth. Maybe we can use the power of the earth to reach it." Lucien remembered Aiden's connection to the earth and how he used it to communicate with the earth elemental. He closed his eyes and focused, trying to reach out to the dragon through the power of the earth. He sent a calming energy towards the dragon, imagining the stability and strength of the earth. The dragon seemed to sense this energy. Its roars grew less intense, and the fire it was breathing subsided. Lucien opened his eyes and stepped forward. "Dragon, we mean you no harm. We seek the fire stone to protect our village and the forest from an ancient evil. Please, let us pass." The dragon studied him for a moment. Then, it let out a low growl. "Many have come to steal the fire stone. But you seem different. You carry the energy of the earth. If you can answer my riddle, you may take the stone." Lucien nodded. "I'm ready." The dragon said, "I am not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. I don't have a mouth, but water kills me. What am I?" Lucien thought for a moment. Then, a smile spread across his face. The answer is fire. The dragon let out a rumbling sound that could have been a laugh. You are correct. The fire stone is yours. But be warned, the ancient evil is a powerful foe. Use the stone well. Lycan walked up to the pedestal and picked up the fire stone. It was hot to the touch, but he could feel its power. With the fire stone in their possession, Lycan and his group made their way out of the cave. Back in the village, Aiden and his group were waiting anxiously. When they saw Lycan and the others return with the fire stone, there was a sense of relief and excitement. Aiden held up the water stone. We did it! We have all 4 elemental stones. The council, along with the rest of the village, gathered to celebrate this momentous occasion. But they knew that the real challenge was yet to come. They had to find a way to combine the power of the 4 elemental stones and face the ancient evil. Elise, who had been studying the ancient texts, said, I've found a ritual that can combine the power of the elemental stones. But it must be performed at the heart of the forest, where the power of nature is the strongest. Aiden nodded. We should do it as soon as possible. The ancient evil could attack at any moment. The next day, the entire village accompanied Aiden, Lycan, and the council to the heart of the forest. A large, open clearing was chosen for the ritual. Elise began to prepare the area, drawing symbols on the ground with a special chalk made from crushed herbs and minerals. Aiden, Lycan, Isabella, and a group of the most powerful mages in the village stood in the center of the clearing. Aiden held the earth stone, Lycan the fire stone, Isabella the water stone, and one of the mages the air stone. Elise began to chant the incantation. The symbols on the ground started to glow, and a strange, humming sound filled the air. Aiden, Lycan, and the others focused their energy, channeling it into the elemental stones. The stones began to glow brighter and brighter. The power of the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, started to merge. A large, swirling column of energy formed in the center of the clearing. As the ritual neared its end, the column of energy started to take shape. It became a large, glowing orb, pulsating with the combined power of the 4 elements. Aiden stepped forward and took the orb. He could feel the immense power coursing through him. We're ready to face the ancient evil, he said, his voice filled with determination. But just as they were about to set off in search of the ancient evil, a dark cloud appeared on the horizon. The cloud was filled with a malevolent energy, and it was rapidly approaching the village. The villagers looked at the cloud in horror. Gideon, the wise old council member, said, "It's the ancient evil. It knows we have the combined power of the elemental stones, and it's coming to stop us." Aiden tightened his grip on the orb. "Let it come. We're ready for it. We'll protect our village and the forest, no matter what." The rest of the villagers nodded in agreement. They took up their weapons and prepared for the final battle. The stage was set, and the fate of the village and the forest hung in the balance. Aiden knew that this would be the greatest test of his courage and strength, but with the support of his family, friends, and the entire village, he was determined to emerge victorious. As the dark cloud drew closer, the air crackled with energy. The ancient evil was upon them, and the battle for the future of their land was about to begin. Aiden looked at his parents, Lucien and Isabella, and then at his friends. "We've come this far," he said. "We can't give up now. Let's show this ancient evil that our village and the forest are not to be messed with." With a final, resolute look, Aiden stepped forward, the glowing orb in his hand, ready to face the ancient evil head on. The villagers followed him, their hearts filled with courage and determination. The battle for their home was about to unfold, and they were all prepared to do whatever it took to protect what they held dear. Chapter 10: The Battle Against the Ancient Evil. The dark cloud, swirling with malevolent energy, descended upon the village. From within the cloud, a towering figure emerged. It was the ancient evil, its form a shifting mass of shadow and darkness. Its eyes glowed with a fierce, crimson light, and a sense of overwhelming dread filled the air. Aiden stepped forward, holding the glowing orb of combined elemental power. "Ancient evil, your reign of terror ends here. We will not let you harm our village or the forest." The ancient evil let out a mocking laugh. "You think a mere collection of villagers and a few elemental trinkets can stop me? You are a fool, boy." With a wave of its shadowy hand, the ancient evil launched a blast of dark energy towards Aiden. Aiden quickly raised the orb, and a shield of elemental power formed around him, deflecting the attack. The energy from the blast ricocheted off the shield, hitting the surrounding trees and causing them to burst into flames. The battle had begun. The villagers, armed with their weapons and supported by the mages, charged forward. Lucien led a group of warriors, their swords glinting in the dim light. They fought bravely against the hordes of dark creatures that emerged from the cloud, shadowy imps, and larger, more menacing beasts. Isabella, as the healer, worked frantically to tend to the injured. She moved through the battlefield, using her healing potions and herbs to soothe wounds and restore strength. Elise and the other mages were engaged in a magical duel with the ancient evil. They cast spells of light and protection, trying to counter the dark magic that was being unleashed. Aiden focused on the ancient evil. He knew that he had to find a way to break through its defenses and strike a decisive blow. He called upon the power of the elements within the orb. Earth, to ground the evil and slow its movements; air, to disrupt its concentration; fire, to burn away its dark energy; and water, to cool and weaken it. The ancient evil, realizing the threat Aiden posed, turned its full attention to him. It launched a series of powerful dark spells, each one more potent than the last. Aiden struggled to maintain the shield, but the force of the attacks was pushing him back. Just then, a group of villagers, led by Atamas, launched a distraction. They fired arrows at the ancient evil, drawing its attention away from Aiden. Aiden took this opportunity to channel more energy into the orb. He closed his eyes and reached out with his senses, connecting to the very essence of the forest. The forest seemed to respond. The trees swayed, and a gust of wind blew through the battlefield. Aiden could feel the power of the forest flowing into him, adding to the power of the elemental orb. With a final, massive effort, Aiden unleashed a blast of combined elemental energy towards the ancient evil. The blast hit the evil, and for a moment, it was enveloped in a bright, multicolored light. The dark cloud that surrounded it began to dissipate. But the ancient evil was not defeated so easily. It let out a deafening roar and fought back. It created a wall of dark energy, pushing back the villagers and the mages. Aiden, undeterred, continued to pour his energy into the fight. As the battle raged on, Aiden noticed a weakness in the ancient evil's defenses. Every time it launched a powerful attack, there was a brief moment of vulnerability. He waited for the right moment, his eyes fixed on the evil. When the ancient evil launched another massive dark spell, Aiden saw his chance. He ran towards it, the orb held high. Just as the evil was about to complete the spell, Aiden reached it and thrust the orb into the heart of the dark energy. The orb's power clashed with the ancient evil's dark magic. There was a blinding flash of light, and a shockwave rippled through the battlefield. The ancient evil let out a scream of agony as the power of the elements began to break down its dark form. The villagers, seeing the ancient evil in distress, redoubled their efforts. The warriors fought with renewed vigor, cutting down the remaining dark creatures. The mages cast their most powerful spells, adding to the destruction of the ancient evil. Slowly but surely, the ancient evil began to fade. Its form grew weaker, and the dark cloud that had covered the village dispersed. With a final, desperate attempt to save itself, the ancient evil launched one last, powerful blast of dark energy. Aiden, knowing that this was the last stand, used the last of his energy to create a shield around the village. The blast hit the shield, and for a moment, it seemed as if the shield would break. But Aiden held on, his determination unwavering. Finally, the blast subsided, and the ancient evil let out a final, defeated howl. It dissipated into nothingness, leaving behind only a faint trace of dark energy. The villagers let out a cheer of victory. They had done it. They had defeated the ancient evil and saved their village and the forest. Aiden fell to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. Lycan and Isabella rushed to his side, hugging him tightly. "You did it, son," Lycan said, his voice filled with pride. "You saved us all." The other villagers gathered around Aiden, showering him with praise and gratitude. The village, which had been on the brink of destruction, was now filled with joy and relief. Over the next few days, the village began to rebuild. The damaged houses were repaired, and the burned-out trees were replanted. Aiden, who had become a true hero, was celebrated throughout the land. Other villages sent messengers to learn of their victory and to offer their support. Aiden, however, remained humble. He knew that the victory was not his alone. It was the result of the unity and courage of the entire village. He continued to work with the villagers, helping to restore the forest and strengthen the bonds between the villages. One day, as Aiden was walking through the forest, he came across the spirit of the forest. The spirit smiled at him. "You have done well, Aiden. You have not only saved the forest and the village but also restored the balance of the elements. The forest will be forever in your debt." Aiden bowed his head. "It was a team effort, spirit of the forest. I couldn't have done it without the help of my family, friends, and the entire village." The spirit of the forest nodded. "Yes, unity and courage are the greatest powers of all. But now, you must look to the future. There may be other threats that come our way, but as long as you and the village remain united, you will face them with strength and determination." Aiden took the spirit's words to heart. He knew that the future was uncertain, but he was ready to face whatever challenges came his way. He returned to the village, filled with a new sense of purpose. As the seasons changed, the village thrived. Aiden grew into a respected leader, and his parents, Isabella and Lycan, were proud to see him continue the legacy of protecting the forest and the village. The story of their victory over the ancient evil was told and retold, a tale of courage, unity, and the power of the elements. One evening, as the sun was setting over the village, Aiden stood on a hill overlooking the land. He thought about all that had happened, the challenges they had faced, and the victories they had achieved. He knew that the forest and the village were his home, and he would do anything to protect them. The next generation of children in the village looked up to Aiden as a role model. He taught them about the forest, the elements, and the importance of unity. And as he watched them play and learn, he knew that the future of the village was in good hands. Aiden also continued to explore the forest, uncovering new mysteries and secrets. He discovered a hidden grove filled with magical plants that had healing properties even more powerful than those he had known before. He shared this discovery with Isabella, and together, they used the plants to create new and more effective healing potions. One day, a young traveler arrived in the village. He had heard of Aiden's heroism and the story of the ancient evil. He asked Aiden if he could stay in the village and learn from him. Aiden welcomed the traveler with open arms. As the traveler settled into the village, Aiden taught him about the forest, the elements, and the ways of the village. The traveler, in turn, shared stories of his own travels, of other lands and cultures. This exchange of knowledge and stories enriched the village, and Aiden knew that this was just the beginning of new adventures and discoveries. The village, once again, was at peace. But Aiden knew that peace was not something to be taken for granted. He remained vigilant, always ready to protect his home and the forest. And as he looked out at the beautiful landscape, he knew that the bond between the village, the forest, and its people was stronger than ever. The legacy of heroism, unity, and love would continue to thrive, passed down from generation to generation. Chapter 11, new horizons and unforeseen perils. The village of Silverbrook, in the aftermath of its great victory over the ancient evil, had settled into a prosperous and harmonious existence. Aidan, now a respected leader, continued to inspire the villagers with his wisdom and courage. His teachings about the forest, the elements, and the importance of unity were ingrained in the hearts of the new generation. One sunny morning, as Aidan was strolling through the village market, he noticed a group of strangers. They were dressed in strange, colorful robes and carried with them an air of mystery. Aidan approached them with a friendly smile. "Welcome to our village. I'm Aidan. Is there anything I can help you with?" The leader of the group, a tall man with a long, white beard and piercing green eyes, bowed his head. "Greetings, Aidan. We are travelers from a far off land. We have heard many tales of your heroic deeds and the unique magic of your forest. We have come to learn and perhaps share some of our own knowledge." Aidan was intrigued. "I'd be happy to show you around and introduce you to our village. We have much to learn from each other." Over the next few days, Aidan accompanied the travelers as they explored the village and the forest. The travelers were particularly interested in the ancient tree and the connection Aidan had with it. They shared stories of their own land, where different forms of magic were practiced, and Aidan was fascinated by their tales of flying cities and enchanted creatures. One of the travelers, a young woman named Lyra, had a special gift for divination. She could see glimpses of the future in the patterns of the stars and the movements of the wind. One evening, as they sat around a campfire in the forest, Lyra's expression grew serious. "Aidan," she said, "I have seen something in the stars. A great shadow is approaching, not from this land, but from across the sea. There are dark forces at work, forces that seek to harness the power of the elements for their own evil purposes. They have heard of your victory and fear that you could stand in their way." Aidan's face grew grave. "We can't let them harm our land or disrupt the balance we've worked so hard to restore. But we need to know more. Do you have any idea how we can prepare?" Lyra shook her head. "I'm not sure. But I know that the key lies in understanding their magic and finding a way to counter it. We should gather your counsel and discuss our options." Aidan agreed. The next day, he called a meeting of the village council. The council members listened intently as Aidan and Lyra explained the situation. Gideon, stroking his beard, was the first to speak. "This is a serious matter. But we've faced great challenges before and overcome them. We need to start by gathering more information about these dark forces. Perhaps our new friends can help us with their knowledge of far-off lands." The travelers nodded. "We'll do everything we can. In our land, there are libraries filled with ancient texts. We can send messengers to search for any information about these dark forces and their magic." Elise, the village mage, added, "I'll also study our own ancient texts. There might be some forgotten spells or knowledge that can help us in this fight." Over the next few weeks, the village was abuzz with activity. The travelers sent messengers to their homeland, and Elise spent hours poring over the dusty tomes in the village library. Aidan, in the meantime, trained the villagers, both in combat and in the use of elemental magic. One day, while Aidan was training a group of young villagers in the forest, he felt a strange disturbance in the air. The wind suddenly picked up, and the leaves on the trees rustled violently. Aidan knew something was wrong. He quickly gathered the villagers and led them back to the village. As they approached, they saw a strange, black ship on the horizon. The ship was large and imposing, with sails that seemed to be made of shadow. It was slowly making its way towards the shore. The villagers rushed to prepare for the attack. Aidan called for everyone to take their positions. The warriors readied their weapons, and the mages prepared their spells. Isabella and the other healers set up a makeshift infirmary. As the ship reached the shore, a group of dark figures emerged. They were tall and thin, their faces hidden beneath black hoods. Their eyes glowed with a cold, blue light, and they carried strange, black-colored staffs. The leader of the dark figures stepped forward. "You are the village that defeated the ancient evil. You think you are so powerful, but you are nothing compared to us. We have come to take the power of the elements for ourselves, and you will not stop us." Aidan stepped forward, his sword drawn. "You'll have to go through us first. This land is protected, and we will not let you harm our people or disrupt the balance of the elements." The battle began. The dark figures launched blasts of dark magic from their staffs. The mages of the village countered with spells of light and protection. The warriors charged forward, their swords clashing with the dark figures' staffs. Aidan, in the heat of the battle, noticed that the dark figures seemed to be drawing power from the very air around them. He knew he had to find a way to disrupt their power source. He called upon the power of the elements, using the earth to ground the dark magic, the air to disperse it, the fire to burn it away, and the water to cool and weaken it. The battle was intense. The dark figures were powerful, but the villagers fought with all their might. Aidan, seeing that the battle was at a stalemate, decided to take a risk. He ran towards the leader of the dark figures, dodging blasts of dark magic as he went. When he reached the leader, he used the power of the elemental orb, which he had kept close, to launch a powerful attack. The leader was caught off guard, and the blast sent him flying. But the other dark figures did not give up. They redoubled their efforts, and the battle raged on. Just then, Lyra, who had been observing the battle from a safe distance, noticed a pattern in the dark figures' magic. She quickly ran towards Aidan. "Aidan, their magic is linked to the tides. We can use the power of the water element to disrupt their connection. If we can create a powerful wave, it might break their hold on the land." Aidan nodded. He called upon the water mages in the village. Together, they focused their energy and used the power of the water stone to create a massive wave. The wave crashed onto the shore, hitting the dark figures and disrupting their magic. The dark figures were thrown off balance. The villagers took this opportunity to launch a final attack. The warriors charged forward, and the mages cast their most powerful spells. The leader of the dark figures, seeing that the battle was lost, let out a curse and ordered his men to retreat. The dark figures fled back to their ship and set sail. The villagers cheered, but they knew that this was not the end. Aiden turned to Lyra. "Thank you, Lyra. Your insight saved us today." Lyra smiled. "We're in this together, Aiden. But we need to be prepared. They will likely return, and next time, they might be more powerful." Back in the village, the council held a meeting. They knew they had to strengthen their defenses and find a way to permanently stop these dark forces. Gideon suggested building stronger magical barriers around the village. Elise proposed creating a special weapon that could counter the dark figures' magic. Aiden agreed with both suggestions. "We also need to find out more about their base of operations. If we can strike at the source, we might be able to end this threat once and for all." Over the next few days, the village worked tirelessly. The mages, led by Elise, started to build the magical barriers. The blacksmiths and the craftsmen began to create the special weapon, a sword infused with the power of the elements. Aiden, along with a group of scouts, set off to find the dark forces' base. They followed the trail of the ship, sailing across the sea. The journey was long and filled with challenges. They had to face strong winds, rough seas, and strange sea creatures. One day, as they were sailing, they noticed a strange glow on the horizon. As they got closer, they saw a large, dark island. The island was surrounded by a thick fog, and a sense of foreboding filled the air. Aiden knew this was the place. He signaled for the scouts to be quiet and cautious. They landed on the island and made their way through the fog. The island was filled with strange, black-colored plants and dark, shadowy creatures. As they walked deeper into the island, they came across a large, dark castle. The castle was surrounded by a moat filled with a strange, purple-colored liquid. Aiden could feel the powerful dark magic emanating from the castle. Just then, a group of dark guards emerged from the castle. They were larger and more powerful than the dark figures they had faced before. Aiden and the scouts drew their weapons. The battle on the island was fierce. The dark guards were well trained, and their attacks were powerful. But Aiden and the scouts fought bravely. Aiden used the power of the elements to gain the upper hand. He created walls of earth to block the guards' attacks, used gusts of wind to knock them off balance, and summoned flames to drive them back. After a long and intense battle, they managed to defeat the dark guards. Aiden and the scouts entered the castle. Inside, it was dark and damp. The walls were lined with torches that burned with a strange, green light. As they walked through the castle, they heard a strange chanting sound. They followed the sound and came to a large, circular chamber. In the center of the chamber, a group of dark mages were performing a ritual. They were chanting in a strange language, and a large, black crystal was floating in the air, pulsating with dark energy. Aiden knew that this crystal was the source of the dark force's power. He signaled for the scouts to be ready. Then, he stepped forward. "Stop this madness! Your reign of terror ends here." The dark mages looked up, their eyes filled with hatred. "You should not have come here, fool. Now, you will face the consequences." The dark mages launched a powerful blast of dark magic towards Aiden. Aiden quickly raised his sword, the one infused with the power of the elements. The sword glowed brightly, and the dark magic was deflected. Aiden charged forward, and a battle between him and the dark mages ensued. The scouts joined in, fighting bravely against the dark mages. Aiden, using his knowledge of the elements and his combat skills, managed to break through the dark mages' defenses. He reached the black crystal and, with a powerful strike of his sword, shattered it. The crystal exploded, and a wave of dark energy was released. But the power of the elements in Aiden's sword countered the dark energy, and the energy dissipated. The dark mages, without the power of the crystal, were weakened. Aiden and the scouts were able to defeat them easily. With the source of the dark force's power destroyed, Aiden knew that the threat to their village was finally over. The group made their way back to the village, victorious. The villagers greeted them with cheers and celebrations. Aiden had once again saved the village from a great threat. As the days passed, the village continued to thrive. The new knowledge and friendships they had gained from the travelers helped the village to grow and prosper. Aiden, however, knew that there might be other threats in the future. But he was ready. With the unity and strength of the village behind him, he was determined to protect their home, the forest, and the balance of the elements. One evening, as Aiden was sitting by the ancient tree, he thought about all the adventures he had been on. He knew that the tree had been a source of strength and guidance throughout his journey. He placed his hand on the tree and closed his eyes. "Ancient tree," he said softly, "thank you for everything. You have been with me through thick and thin. I promise to continue to protect this land and the forest, just as you have protected us." The tree seemed to respond with a gentle rustling of its leaves. Aiden opened his eyes and smiled. He knew that the bond between him, the village, and the forest was unbreakable. And as he looked out at the beautiful landscape, he was filled with a sense of peace and purpose. The future might hold new challenges, but he was ready to face them, knowing that he was not alone. Chapter 12 The Echoes of the Past and New Beginnings. In the peaceful aftermath of their victory over the dark forces on the mysterious island, the village of Silverbrook flourished. The once, again, safe haven became a hub of activity, as the villagers, inspired by their repeated triumphs, set about expanding and improving their homes and community. Aiden, the village's beloved hero, found himself not only as a protector but also as a visionary guiding the village's growth. The knowledge brought by the travelers from the far, off-land had spurred new ideas. The villagers started to build new structures, incorporating the unique architectural styles described by their guests. A school of magic was established, where Elise and the travelers taught the younger generation about different forms of magic, from elemental spells to the art of divination. Aiden, however, couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to be discovered. One day, while exploring the attic of the village library, he came across a dusty, old tome. Its cover was made of a strange, leather-like material, embossed with symbols that he had never seen before. As he opened the book, a faint, musty smell filled the air, and he began to read the faded text. The book was a journal, written by one of the first settlers of the land. It spoke of an ancient prophecy, one that had been long forgotten. According to the prophecy, there was a hidden power deep within the heart of the forest, a power that could either bring about great prosperity or lead to utter destruction, depending on who wielded it. The power was said to be linked to the very roots of the ancient tree, the same tree that had been such an important part of Aiden's journey. Aiden's heart raced as he read. He knew that this was a discovery that could change everything. He immediately took the journal to Gideon, the wise old council member. Gideon studied the journal intently, his eyes widening as he read the words. "This is a serious matter, Aiden," Gideon said. "If there is such a power hidden in the forest, we need to find it before someone with ill intentions does. But we must also be careful. The prophecy warns that the power is dangerous and should only be used in the direst of circumstances." Aiden nodded. "I understand, Gideon. But we can't just ignore this. We need to gather the council and decide what to do." The council was quickly assembled, and Aiden presented his discovery. The members were divided in their opinions. Some were worried about the potential danger of the hidden power, while others believed that they should seek it out to protect the village from future threats. Elise, the village mage, spoke up. "We should at least try to learn more about this power. We can use our magic to search for clues in the forest. Maybe the ancient tree can help us." Aiden agreed. "I'll go to the ancient tree and see if it can give me any insights. But we need to be prepared for anything. This could be a very dangerous quest." The next day, Aiden made his way to the ancient tree. As he approached, he could feel its familiar, comforting energy. He placed his hands on the rough bark and closed his eyes. "Ancient tree," he said, "I've discovered something about a hidden power linked to you. Can you tell me more?" For a moment, there was silence. Then, Aiden felt a strange, tingling sensation. Images began to form in his mind, images of a hidden cave deep within the forest. The cave was filled with a soft, golden light, and at the center of the cave was a large, glowing crystal. Aiden opened his eyes, his heart filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He knew where he had to go. He quickly returned to the village and informed the council of what he had seen. "I think this is the location of the hidden power," Aiden said. "But we need to be careful. The vision from the tree was a bit unclear, and there might be guardians or traps in the cave. The council decided to send a small, elite group to the cave, led by Aiden. Along with him were Lucien, Elise, and a young, talented mage named Cora. Cora had shown great promise in her studies of magic and was eager to prove herself. The group set off into the forest. The journey to the cave was long and filled with uncertainty. As they walked deeper into the forest, the air grew colder, and a sense of mystery surrounded them. Finally, they came across the cave. The entrance was hidden behind a large boulder. Aiden placed his hand on the boulder, and to his surprise, the boulder began to move aside, as if the cave was welcoming them. The group entered the cave cautiously. Inside, it was filled with a soft, golden light, just as Aiden had seen in his vision. The walls of the cave were lined with strange, glowing crystals, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the chamber. As they walked deeper, they heard a low, growling sound. A large, winged creature emerged from the shadows. It was a cross between a lion and an eagle, its eyes glowing with a fierce, orange light. "I am the guardian of this place," the creature said. "What brings you here, humans?" Aiden stepped forward. "We come in peace. We seek the hidden power that lies within this cave. We want to use it to protect our village and the forest from future threats." The guardian studied them for a moment. "Many have come before, seeking power for their own gain. What makes you different?" Aiden thought for a moment. "We have faced many threats and overcome them. We have always used our powers for the good of the village and the forest. We are guided by the ancient tree, and we mean no harm to this place or its power." The guardian seemed to consider his words. "Very well. But you must pass a test. I will ask you a series of riddles. If you answer them correctly, you may proceed." The group nodded. The guardian began. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Elise thought for a moment. "The answer is an echo." The guardian nodded. "Correct. Next riddle." "I have keys but no locks. I have space but no room. You can enter but can't go outside. What am I?" Cora quickly answered. "A keyboard." The guardian let out a low growl that could have been a laugh. "You are correct. One more riddle. I am taken from a mine, and shut up in a wooden case, from which I am never released, and yet I am used by almost every person. What am I?" Aiden thought hard. Then, he smiled. "The answer is a pencil lead." The guardian stepped aside. "You have passed the test. Proceed, but be warned, the power you seek is not to be taken lightly." The group continued deeper into the cave. As they reached the center of the chamber, they saw the large, glowing crystal. The crystal was pulsating with a powerful energy, and Aiden could feel its pull. But just as they were about to approach the crystal, a dark figure emerged from the shadows. It was a man, his face hidden beneath a large, black hood. He was the same man who had been watching the village from afar, the one Aiden had seen in his vision from the ancient tree. "You think you can just take this power for yourselves?" the man sneered. "This power is mine. I've been waiting for the right moment to claim it." Aiden stepped in front of the crystal. "You can't have it. You'll only use it for evil. We're here to protect it and use it for the good of the village and the forest." The man laughed. "You're a fool, Aiden. You have no idea what you're up against." With that, the man launched a blast of dark magic towards the group. Aiden quickly raised a shield of elemental power, protecting the others. The battle between Aiden's group and the dark figure began. The dark figure was powerful, and his dark magic was relentless. But Aiden, Lucien, Elise, and Cora fought back with all their might. Elise cast spells of light to counter the dark magic, while Lucien and Aiden attacked the man with their weapons. Cora used her unique magic to disrupt the man's concentration. As the battle raged on, Aiden noticed that the dark figure was drawing power from the shadows in the cave. He knew he had to find a way to cut off his power source. He called upon the power of the elements to create a bright, blinding light that filled the cave. The dark figure was temporarily blinded by the light. Aiden took this opportunity to charge forward and strike the man with his sword. The man let out a scream of pain, and his dark magic began to weaken. With a final, powerful blast of light from Elise and a well-aimed strike from Aiden, the dark figure was defeated. He collapsed to the ground, and his form dissipated into nothingness. The group let out a sigh of relief. They had once again overcome a great threat. Aiden turned to the crystal. "We've come this far. But we need to be careful. We don't know exactly what this power can do." Elise stepped forward. "I think I can use my magic to study the crystal and understand its power. But it will take some time." The group decided to wait. Elise began to cast a series of spells on the crystal, studying its energy patterns and the magic it contained. As she did, she discovered something remarkable. "The power of this crystal is linked to the balance of the elements," Elise said. "It can be used to enhance our connection to the elements and create a force that can protect the village from any threat. But it must be used with great care." Aiden nodded. "We'll take it back to the village and keep it safe. We can use it as a last resort, if ever the need arises." The group carefully removed the crystal from its place and made their way back to the village. The villagers were overjoyed to see them return safely with the mysterious crystal. A special chamber was built beneath the village council building to house the crystal. The crystal was placed in the chamber, and powerful spells were cast to protect it. As the days passed, the village continued to grow and thrive. Aiden, Lucien, Isabella, and the rest of the villagers knew that they had many more adventures and challenges ahead. But with the power of the crystal, the wisdom of the ancient tree, and the unity of the village, they were ready to face whatever the future held. One day, a young traveler arrived in the village. He had heard of the village's heroic deeds and the discovery of the hidden power. He asked Aiden if he could stay and learn from the villagers. Aiden welcomed him with open arms. As the traveler settled into the village, Aiden showed him around. He taught him about the forest, the elements, and the importance of unity. The traveler, in turn, shared stories of his own travels, of far-off lands and strange creatures. Aiden knew that the village's story was far from over. With new people coming and going, and the ever-present mystery of the forest, there were bound to be new adventures and discoveries. And as he watched the sun set over the village, he was filled with a sense of excitement and anticipation for what the future had in store. Chapter 13: The Unveiling of Hidden Alliances and New Threats. In the village of Silverbrook, the discovery of the hidden crystal and the defeat of the dark figure had become the talk of the town. The villagers, now more united than ever, were filled with a sense of pride and security, knowing they had a powerful safeguard in the crystal. However, Aiden knew that such peace was often a precursor to new challenges. One morning, a group of messengers arrived from a distant kingdom. They were dressed in fine silk robes, embroidered with symbols of power and authority. The leader of the messengers, a tall and imposing man with a neatly trimmed beard, requested an audience with the village council. Aiden, along with Gideon, Isabella, and the other council members, gathered to hear what the messengers had to say. The leader bowed respectfully and began, "Greetings, esteemed members of the Silverbrook Council. I am Lord Aaron of the Kingdom of Everglade. Our kingdom has heard of your remarkable feats in safeguarding the forest and defeating dark forces. We come with a proposal." The council members exchanged curious glances. Aiden leaned forward, intrigued. "Please, Lord Aaron, continue. What is this proposal?" Lord Aaron cleared his throat. The Kingdom of Everglade has been facing its own set of troubles. Dark sorcerers have been amassing power in the northern regions of our kingdom. They seek to disrupt the balance of magic and bring chaos. We believe that by joining forces, our two communities can share knowledge and resources to combat these threats. Gideon stroked his beard thoughtfully. "This is a serious matter, Lord Aaron. But how do you propose we work together? Our village is small compared to your kingdom, and our ways may be different." Lord Aaron smiled. "We do not underestimate the power of your village, especially after hearing of your victories. We propose an exchange of knowledge. Our mages can teach your people more advanced forms of magic, and in return, you can share your unique understanding of the forest and the elements. Also, in times of need, we can offer each other military support." The council discussed the proposal among themselves. Some were hesitant, worried about getting involved in the kingdom's affairs. But Aiden saw the potential benefits. "This could be a great opportunity for us, not just to protect ourselves but to expand our knowledge and strength. The dark sorcerers may pose a threat to us as well in the future." After much deliberation, the council agreed to the alliance. Lord Aaron was pleased. "Excellent. I will send a group of our mages and scholars to your village as soon as possible. In the meantime, we hope you will consider sending some of your most skilled individuals to our kingdom to learn and share knowledge." Over the next few weeks, the first group of mages and scholars from the Kingdom of Everglade arrived in Silverbrook. They were greeted with warmth and hospitality. Elise, the village mage, was particularly excited to learn from them. One of the mages, a young woman named Serafina, had a deep understanding of celestial magic. She began to teach Elise and the other village mages how to draw power from the stars. "The stars are a vast source of energy," Serafina explained. "If you can attune your magic to the celestial rhythms, you can create spells of great power." Elise was fascinated. "I've always focused on the magic of the earth and the elements. This is a whole new world for me." As the exchange of knowledge continued, Aiden and a group of the village's best warriors prepared to journey to the Kingdom of Everglade. Before they left, Aiden visited the ancient tree. "Ancient tree," he said, "we are about to embark on a new journey, to form an alliance with a distant kingdom. Guide us and keep our village safe in our absence." The tree seemed to respond with a gentle rustling of its leaves, as if giving its blessing. Aiden then joined the others, and they set off on their journey. The journey to the Kingdom of Everglade was long and filled with wonders. They passed through lush meadows, over towering mountains, and across wide rivers. When they finally arrived at the kingdom, they were in awe of its grandeur. The kingdom was surrounded by high, stone walls, and the buildings were made of marble and gold, trimmed stone. The streets were filled with people going about their daily business, and the air was filled with the sounds of commerce and chatter. Lord Aaron welcomed them with a grand feast. "Welcome, friends of Silverbrook. We are honored to have you in our kingdom. I hope you will find your stay here both educational and productive." Over the next few days, Aiden and his group were introduced to the kingdom's military training facilities and its vast libraries of magic. Aiden was particularly interested in the kingdom's research on dark magic. One day, while exploring the library, Aiden came across a strange book. It was written in an ancient language that he had never seen before. He took the book to a scholar named Master Thaddeus. Master Thaddeus studied the book intently. "This is a very rare book, Aiden. It speaks of an ancient cult that once sought to control the elements for their own dark purposes. They were thought to be extinct, but there are rumors that they may have resurfaced." Aiden's eyes widened. This could be related to the dark sorcerers causing trouble in the kingdom. "Do you think there's a connection?" Master Thaddeus nodded. "It's very likely. We need to investigate further. But be careful. This cult is said to be extremely powerful and dangerous." Aiden informed Lord Aaron of their discovery. Lord Aaron immediately assembled a group of his best investigators, along with Aiden and his warriors, to look into the matter. The group set off to the northern regions of the kingdom, where the dark sorcerers were said to be operating. As they got closer to the area, they could feel a strange, oppressive energy. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, and the landscape seemed to be withering away. Suddenly, a group of dark, cloaked figures emerged from the shadows. They were armed with strange, black, bladed weapons and were chanting in a strange language. Aiden and the others quickly drew their weapons. The battle that ensued was intense. The dark, cloaked figures were skilled fighters, and their weapons seemed to be enchanted with dark magic. Aiden used his knowledge of the elements to counter their attacks. He created walls of earth to block their strikes and summoned gusts of wind to push them back. Lord Aaron's warriors fought bravely as well. They used their training and the power of their kingdom's magic to fend off the dark figures. But as the battle raged on, Aiden noticed that the dark figures were not trying to defeat them but were instead trying to delay them. Just then, a loud explosion sounded in the distance. Aiden knew they were in trouble. "We need to hurry. They're trying to distract us from something." The group fought their way through the dark figures and continued towards the source of the explosion. When they arrived, they saw a large, dark tower. The tower was pulsating with a powerful, dark energy, and dark tendrils were spreading out from it, corrupting the land around it. Aiden and the others knew they had to destroy the tower. But as they approached, they were met with a powerful barrier of dark magic. Aiden called upon the power of the elements and the knowledge he had gained from the kingdom's mages. He combined the power of earth, air, fire, and water with the magic of the stars to break through the barrier. With the final, powerful blast of energy, the barrier shattered. The group rushed towards the tower. Inside, they found a group of dark sorcerers performing a ritual. In the center of the chamber was a large, black crystal, similar to the one they had faced before. Aiden stepped forward. "Stop this madness! Your evil deeds end here." The dark sorcerers laughed. "You're too late. The ritual is almost complete. Soon, the power of the elements will be ours to control." The dark sorcerers launched a powerful attack on Aiden and the others. Aiden, determined to stop them, fought with all his might. He used his sword, infused with the power of the elements, to cut through the dark magic. Lord Aaron's warriors and the other members of the group joined in the fight. The battle inside the tower was fierce, with dark magic clashing against the combined powers of the elements and the kingdom's magic. Aiden noticed that the dark sorcerers were drawing power from the black crystal. He knew that if they could destroy the crystal, they could stop the ritual. He fought his way through the dark sorcerers, dodging their attacks. Finally, he reached the crystal. With a powerful strike of his sword, he shattered the crystal. The dark sorcerers let out a scream of rage and pain as the power they were harnessing was disrupted. The tower began to shake, and the dark energy that had been spreading started to dissipate. Aiden and the others quickly made their way out of the tower before it collapsed. As they watched the tower crumble, they knew they had achieved a great victory. But they also knew that this was not the end. The cult that the dark sorcerers were a part of was still out there, and they would likely try to regroup and strike again. Back in the kingdom, Aiden and his group were hailed as heroes. Lord Aaron was grateful for their help. "You have saved our kingdom from a great threat, Aiden. Your courage and skill are truly remarkable." Aiden smiled. "It was a team effort, Lord Aaron. We couldn't have done it without the help of your warriors and mages." The alliance between the village of Silverbrook and the kingdom of Everglade was strengthened by their shared victory. Aiden and his group returned to Silverbrook with new knowledge and a deeper understanding of the threats that lay ahead. In Silverbrook, the news of their victory was met with celebrations. The villagers were proud of Aiden and the others. But Aiden knew that they had to be vigilant. The cult was still a danger, and they needed to be prepared for whatever the cult might throw at them next. As the days passed, Aiden continued to train the villagers, both in combat and in magic. He also worked with Elise and the other mages to develop new spells and defenses, using the knowledge they had gained from the kingdom. One day, as Aiden was walking through the forest, he noticed a strange glimmer in the distance. Curious, he followed the glimmer. It led him to a small, hidden clearing. In the center of the clearing was a small, glowing stone. Aiden picked up the stone. As he did, he could feel a strange energy coursing through him. The stone seemed to be pulsating with a power that was both familiar and yet different from the elemental powers he knew. Just then, the spirit of the forest appeared. "Aiden," the spirit said, "that stone is a fragment of an ancient artifact. It holds great power, but it also attracts those who seek dark magic. You must be careful." Aiden nodded. "I will, spirit of the forest. But what should I do with this stone?" The spirit of the forest thought for a moment. "Bring it to the ancient tree. It may be able to help us understand the true nature of this power and how to use it to protect the forest and the village." Aiden made his way back to the ancient tree. He placed the stone at the base of the tree and waited. The tree seemed to respond. Its branches swayed, and a soft, golden light surrounded the stone. As the light faded, Aiden noticed that the stone had changed. It was now glowing with a more stable, pure light. The ancient tree, through its power, had purified the stone. Aiden picked up the stone again. He could feel that the power it held was now more in tune with the elements and the forest. He knew that this stone could be a valuable asset in their fight against the cult. But he also knew that the cult would likely come for the stone. He returned to the village and informed the council of his discovery. The council decided to keep the stone hidden and protected, while they continued to prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the cult. Aiden, filled with a new sense of determination, knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. But with the support of his village, the alliance with the Kingdom of Everglade, and the power of the forest, he was ready to face whatever the cult had in store. The battle for the balance of magic and the safety of their homes was far from over, and Aiden was determined to emerge victorious. Chapter 14, The Final Confrontation and the New Era. In the village of Silverbrook, the discovery of the purified stone added a new layer of both hope and trepidation. Aidan, along with the council, knew that the cult would not let such a powerful artifact slip through their fingers easily. The village went into a state of high alert, with increased patrols in the forest and enhanced magical defenses around the village. Aidan spent days studying the stone with Elise and the mages from the Kingdom of Everglade who were still in the village. They discovered that the stone had the power to disrupt dark magic at its source, acting as a sort of anti-dark magic beacon. However, to fully utilize its power, they needed to perform a complex ritual. One night, as Aidan was sleeping, he had a vivid dream. In the dream, the spirit of the forest appeared to him. "Aidan," the spirit said, "the cult is gathering its forces. They will attack soon. You must perform the ritual on the night of the next full moon. The power of the moon will enhance the stone's abilities and give you the edge you need in the final battle." Aidan woke up with a start. He immediately called a meeting of the council. "We don't have much time," he said, his face serious. "The cult is coming, and we need to be ready. According to the spirit of the forest, we should perform the ritual on the night of the next full moon." The council members nodded, their expressions grim. They began to make preparations for the ritual. Elise and the other mages started to gather the necessary ingredients, which included rare herbs from the forest and enchanted crystals from the Kingdom of Everglade. Lucien and the warriors began to train even harder, preparing for the inevitable battle. As the days passed, the tension in the village grew. The villagers could sense that something big was about to happen. The night of the full moon finally arrived. The sky was clear, and the moon hung large and bright in the sky. Aidan, Elise, and a group of the most powerful mages in the village gathered in the center of the village. The purified stone was placed on a special pedestal, surrounded by the ingredients for the ritual. Aidan began to chant the incantation they had prepared, while the other mages added their power to his. The ingredients around the stone began to glow, and a strange, iridescent light surrounded the stone. As the ritual progressed, the power of the moon seemed to pour into the stone, enhancing its energy. The stone began to pulsate with a blinding light, and Aidan could feel its power growing stronger. Just then, a scout came running into the village. "The cult is here!" he shouted. "They're approaching from the north." Aidan looked at the stone. The ritual was almost complete. "We can't stop now," he said. "We need to finish the ritual. The stone's power is our only chance." The mages continued to chant, their voices rising above the growing commotion in the village. The warriors took their positions, ready to defend the village. Isabella and the healers prepared their potions and herbs, bracing themselves for the injured. The cult members, a large group of dark-robed figures, emerged from the forest. Their eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and they carried strange, black-colored weapons. The leader of the cult, a tall and imposing figure with a skeletal face, stepped forward. "You think you can stop us with your petty rituals?" he sneered. "You're all going to die, and the stone will be ours." With a wave of his hand, the cult members launched a barrage of dark magic towards the village. The warriors raised their shields, and the mages countered with spells of protection. The battle had begun. Aiden, in the midst of the chaos, focused on completing the ritual. The stone was now glowing with an intense light, and he could feel its power reaching its peak. With a final, powerful incantation, the ritual was complete. Aiden picked up the stone. He could feel a surge of energy coursing through him. He stepped forward, facing the cult leader. "Your reign of terror ends tonight," he said. The cult leader laughed. "You're a fool, Aiden. You think a glowing stone can stop me?" He launched a massive blast of dark magic towards Aiden. Aiden raised the stone, and a shield of pure, dark, magic energy formed around him. The dark magic hit the shield and dissipated, like smoke in the wind. The cult leader's eyes widened in surprise. Aiden then launched a counter-attack. He used the power of the stone to send a wave of energy towards the cult members. The wave hit them, disrupting their dark magic and knocking many of them to the ground. The warriors of the village and the kingdom of Everglade, seeing Aiden's success, charged forward with renewed vigor. The mages, too, increased their attacks, using a combination of elemental magic and the new celestial magic they had learned. The battle in the village was intense. The cult members fought back desperately, but the combined power of the village, the kingdom's forces, and the power of the purified stone was too much for them. Aiden, in the heat of the battle, noticed that the cult leader was trying to escape. He chased after the cult leader, using the power of the stone to clear a path through the chaos. The cult leader ran towards the forest, but Aiden was hot on his heels. When they reached a clearing in the forest, the cult leader turned to face Aiden. "You think you've won?" he hissed. "I have a backup plan. There's a hidden source of dark power in this forest that I can use to destroy you all." Aiden stood his ground. "You won't get away with it. This forest is protected, and I won't let you harm it or my village." The cult leader laughed maniacally. He then began to chant an incantation. The ground beneath them started to shake, and a large, dark pit opened up. From the pit, a dark, shadowy creature emerged. It was a massive, formless being, its presence sending chills down Aiden's spine. Aiden knew he had to act fast. He called upon the power of the stone and the elements. He created a wall of earth to block the creature's path, while at the same time using the power of the stone to disrupt the cult leader's control over the creature. The creature let out a deafening roar and charged towards the wall of earth. Aiden used the power of the air to create a strong gust of wind, pushing the creature back. He then infused the power of fire into the stone and launched a blast of energy at the creature. The creature was hit by the blast, and it let out a scream of pain. The cult leader, seeing his creature in distress, tried to increase his control over it. But Aiden was determined. He used the power of the water element to cool the creature's rage and weaken its dark energy. With a final, powerful blast from the stone, Aiden destroyed the creature. The cult leader, now without his last resort, was left defenseless. Aiden walked up to him. "Your evil deeds have come to an end," Aiden said. "You will no longer be able to harm our land or our people." The cult leader, filled with hatred, tried to launch one last attack. But Aiden was ready. He used the power of the stone to deflect the attack and then captured the cult leader with a spell of binding. Aiden then returned to the village. The battle was over. The cult members who had not been defeated had fled, and the village was safe. The villagers cheered as they saw Aiden return with the captured cult leader. The next day, the council decided what to do with the cult leader. They sentenced him to imprisonment in a special, magically, sealed cell in the Kingdom of Everglade. This would ensure that he could no longer cause any harm. With the threat of the cult eliminated, the village of Silverbrook and the Kingdom of Everglade celebrated their victory. There were feasts, music, and dancing in both places. Aiden, once again, was hailed as a hero. In the days that followed, the village continued to thrive. The alliance with the Kingdom of Everglade was strengthened, and there was an exchange of more knowledge and resources. The village became a place of learning and growth, with mages from all over coming to study the unique magic of the forest and the elements. Aiden, now a respected leader and a master of both elemental and anti-dark magic, continued to guide the village. He taught the younger generation about the importance of courage, unity, and the protection of the land. One day, as Aiden was walking through the forest, he came across the ancient tree. The tree seemed to be glowing with a new, vibrant energy. Aiden placed his hand on the tree. "Ancient tree," he said, "we've faced many challenges, and we've overcome them. Thanks to you and the spirit of the forest, our village is safe." The tree rustled its leaves, as if in response. Aiden knew that the tree had been a constant source of strength and wisdom throughout his journey. As the years passed, Aiden grew old, but his legacy lived on. His children and grandchildren, inspired by his stories and his example, continued to protect the forest and the village. The village of Silverbrook became a symbol of hope and resilience, a place where the power of unity and the magic of the forest worked together to keep the world safe from dark forces. The purified stone was placed in a special shrine in the village, a reminder of the great battle they had won and the power of good over evil. And as the seasons changed, the forest continued to thrive, its magic and beauty preserved for generations to come. The new era that had dawned was one of peace, prosperity, and a deep-rooted connection between the village, the forest, and the people who called it home.